In the ongoing Israel-Palestinian conflict, one Indian citizen, Soumya Santosh, also got killed. 32-year-old Soumya, a house help on duty who hails from Idukki district in Kerala, died minutes before shifting in rocket attack by Hamas at Ashkelon in Israel. Amid flaring up of conflict, Israel's defense minister Benny Gantz has approved the mobilization of 9,000 more troops at border in Gaza. While there are a few fatalities on Israeli side, despite a robust Iron Dome air defense shield, Palestinians suffered more casualties in Israeli airstrikes. The Israel-Palestinian conflict is over a century old and perhaps world's most intractable conflict. In this video, I will try to explain the full conflict. May I urge you to subscribe National Defense if you are visiting my channel first time. So let's get started. In August and September 2020, the United Arab Emirates and then Bahrain agreed to normalize relations with Israel, making them only the third and fourth countries in the region, following Egypt in 1979 and Jordan in 1994 to do so. The agreements, named the Abraham Accords, came more than 18 months after the United States hosted Israel and several Arab states for ministerial talks in Warsaw, Poland, about the future of peace in the Middle East. Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas has rejected the recent accords and recalled his ambassador from Abu Dhabi. Hamas also rejected the agreements. Tensions also remain high between the Israeli military and the Hamas. In August 2020, Hamas launched helium balloons that carried incendiary material towards Israel's southern border. In response, Israel conducted airstrikes against Hamas facilities in the Gaza Strip. Mediators have struggled to ease tensions and prevent further escalations. To understand the current ongoing situation, we would need to go to the roots of the conflict. In the 19th century, region which is today Israel, Gaza Strip and West Bank has a very small minority Jewish population, although this was growing by a significant Jewish migration. Public declarations of claims to a Jewish homeland in Palestine, including the 1897 First Zionist Congress led by Theodore Herzl and the 1917 Balfour Declaration by British government to establish homeland for Jewish people, created early tension in the region. Following the implementation of the Mandate for Palestine, which included a binding obligation on the British government for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for Jewish people, the tension grew into sectarian conflict between the Jews and the Arabs. In 1947, the United Nations adopted Resolution 181 known as the Partition Plan, which sought to divide the British Mandate of Palestine into Arab and Jewish states. On May 14, 1948, the State of Israel was created, sparking the first Arab-Israeli war. The war ended in 1949 with Israel's victory, but 750,000 Palestinians were displaced and the territory was divided into three parts: the State of Israel, the West Bank of the Jordan River and the Gaza Strip. Israel calls this as a war of independence and Palestinians as Al-Nakba, the disaster. Over the following years, tensions rose in the region, particularly between Israel and Egypt, Jordan and Syria. Following the 1956 Suez Crisis, the Israel's invasion of the Sinai Peninsula, Egypt, Jordan and Syria signed mutual defense pacts in anticipation of a possible mobilization of Israeli troops. In 1964, however, a new organization, the Palestinian Liberation Organization (PLO), was created by Yasser Arafat. It immediately won the support of most Arab League governments and was granted a seat in the Arab League. In June 1967, following a series of maneuvers by Egyptian President Abdel Gamal Nasser, Israel preemptively attacked Egyptian and Syrian air forces, starting the Six-Day War. After the war, Israel gained territorial control over the Sinai Peninsula and Gaza Strip from Egypt, the West Bank and the East Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. 6 years later, in what is referred to as Yom Kippur War or the October War, Egypt and Syria launched a surprise two-front attack on Israel to regain their lost territory. The conflict did not result in significant gains for Egypt, Israel or Syria, but Egyptian President Anwar al-Sadat declared the war a victory for Egypt as it allowed Egypt and Syria to negotiate over previously ceded territory. Finally, in 1979, following a series of ceasefires and peace negotiations, representatives from Egypt and Israel, they signed the Camp David Accords, a peace treaty that ended the 30-year conflict between Egypt and Israel. Even though the Camp David Accords improved relations between Israel and its neighbors, the question of Palestinian self-determination and self-governance remained unresolved. In 1987, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians living in the West Bank and Gaza Strip rose up against the Israeli government in what is known as the First Intifada. The 1993 Oslo First Accord mediated the conflict, setting up a framework for the Palestinians to govern themselves in the West Bank and Gaza, and enabled mutual recognition between the newly established Palestinian Authority and Israel government. In 1995, the Oslo II Accords expanded on the first agreement, adding provisions that mandated the complete withdrawal of Israel from 6 cities and 450 towns in West Bank. In the backdrop of Oslo Accords, today the Palestinians remain subject to Israeli military occupation in the Gaza Strip and at least in 165 islands across the West Bank. Key issues that have stalled further progress are security, borders, water rights, control of Jerusalem, Israeli settlements, Palestinian freedom of movement, and Palestinian right of return. Many attempts have been made to broker a two-state solution involving the creation of an independent Palestinian state alongside the State of Israel. In 2000, sparked in part by Palestinian grievances over Israel's control over the West Bank, a stagnating peace process, and former Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon's visit to Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam, in September 2000, Palestinians launched the Second Intifada, which would last until 2005. In response, the Israeli government approved construction of a barrier wall around the West Bank in 2002, despite opposition from the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. The two parties currently engaged in direct negotiation are the Israeli government, led by Benjamin Netanyahu, and the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which is PLO, headed by Mahmoud Abbas. The official negotiations are mediated by an international contingent known as Quartet on the Middle East. The quartet, represented by a special envoy that consists of the United States, Russia, the European Union, and the United Nations. The Arab League is another important actor which has proposed an alternative peace plan. Egypt, a founding member of the Arab League, has historically been a key participant in the whole negotiation. Jordan, having relinquished its claim to the West Bank in 1988 and holding a special role in the Muslim Holy Shrine in Jerusalem, has also been a key participant. Since 2006, the Palestinian side has been fractured by conflict between two major factions, Fatah, the traditionally dominant party, and its later electoral challenger, the Hamas, which also operates as a militant organization as we see today. After Hamas' electoral victory in 2006, the quartet conditioned future foreign assistance to the Palestinian National Authority, which is also known as PA, on the future government's commitment to non-violence, recognition of the State of Israel, and acceptance of previous agreements. But Hamas rejected these demands, which resulted in the quartet's suspension of its foreign assistance program and the imposition of economic sanctions by the Israelis. A year later, following Hamas' seizure of the Gaza Strip in June 2007, the territory officially recognized as the Palestinian National Authority was split between Fatah in the West Bank and Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The division of governance between the parties had effectively resulted in the collapse of bipartisan government of the Palestinian National Authority. In 2013, the United States attempted to revive the peace process between the Israeli government and the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. However, peace talks were disrupted when Fatah, the Palestinian Authority's ruling party, formed a unity government with its rival faction Hamas in 2014. Hamas, a spin-off of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, founded in 1987 following the First Intifada, is also one of the major political parties and was designated as a foreign terrorist organization by the United States in 1997. In the summer of 2014, clashes in the Palestinian territories participated in military confrontation between the Israeli military and Hamas, in which Hamas fired nearly 3,000 rockets at Israel, and Israel retaliated with a major offensive in Gaza. The skirmish ended in late August 2014 with a ceasefire deal brokered by Egypt, but only after 73 Israelis and 2,251 Palestinians were killed. After a wave of violence between Israelis and Palestinians in 2015, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas announced that Palestinians would no longer be bound by the territorial divisions created by the Oslo Accords. In March and May of 2018, Palestinians in the Gaza Strip conducted weekly demonstrations at the border between the Gaza Strip and Israel. The final protest coincided with the 70th anniversary of the Al-Nakba, the Palestinian exodus that accompanied Israeli independence. While most of the protesters were peaceful, they were stormed and perimeter fence and then rocked through the objects. According to the United Nations, 183 demonstrators were killed and more than 6,000 were wounded by the live ammunition. Also in May of 2018, fighting broke out between Hamas and the Israeli military in what became the worst period of violence since 2014. Before reaching a ceasefire, militants in Gaza fired over 100 rockets into Israel, and Israel responded with strikes on more than 50 targets in Gaza during the 24 hours flare-up. US President Donald J. Trump administration set achieving an Israeli-Palestinian deal as a foreign policy priority. In 2018, the Trump administration cancelled funding for the UN Relief and Works Agency, which provides aid to Palestinian refugees, and relocated the US Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, a reversal of its long-standing policy. The decision to move the US Embassy was met with applause from the Israeli leadership but was condemned by the Palestinian leaders and others in the Middle East and also in Europe. Israel considers the complete and united Jerusalem its capital, while Palestinians claim East Jerusalem as the capital of a future Palestinian state. In January 2020, the Trump administration released its long-awaited Peace to Prosperity Plan, which was again rejected by Palestinians due to its support for future Israeli annexation of settlements in the West Bank and control over an undivided Jerusalem. Now, with the latest round of violence, there is a concern that a third Intifada uprising could break out, and that renewed tension will escalate into large-scale violence. The United States has an interest in protecting the security of its long-term ally Israel and achieving a lasting deal between Israel and the Palestinian territories, which would improve regional security by and large. Hope I explained the Israel-Palestinian conflict in very simple words. In case I missed something, please write in the comment box of the video, and please do like it, share the video so others could also be made aware of the issue. If you want to watch more such videos on my channel, Please subscribe and press bell icon. Thanks for watching. Jai Hind. Vande Mataram.